On the road again, folks, but still digesting what went down on Thursday night. Welcome back to Cardinals Daily. I'm Eddie Law. Hit that sub, hit that bell, send that like, and let's get right to it. We got to talk about what positive takeaways we can take from this Week 4 loss against Seattle. And again, it's been a couple of days to digest this, right? So let's break down the good things. Yes, the good things that came out of the Arizona Week 4 clash with the Seattle Seahawks and unfortunate loss at home. Cardinals may have walked away with a 23-20 loss, but there was plenty of positives to build on. First and foremost, You've got to give credit to the resiliency of this team, right? Down 20-6, less than 6 minutes left. A lot of teams would have just folded, just given up, maybe sending the backup and just ran the ball a bunch of times. But Kyler Murray and company, man, they mounted a fierce comeback. Scoring 2 late touchdowns to tie the game, that kind of heart and refusal to quit says a lot about the mentality Jonathan Gannon is trying to bring into this to this culture, to this team, right? The mindset, the culture is a huge thing. It's incredibly important. Even though the result wasn't what they wanted, the fight, to me, it's undeniable. So let's talk Kyler. He had been under pressure all night, sacked 6 times, hit countless others, and when the game was on the line, he delivered. Those two late touchdown drives that he had showcased his ability to create, extend plays with his legs, make clutch throws. That's the Kyler Murray the Cardinals need week in and week out. The problem is we don't get that Kyler Murray week in and week out. We don't even get him for a full game, so that's a problem. But we'll, of course, touch that on later on. Either way, his resiliency and ability to come back in those last 6 minutes, huge positive to see him step up when everything was stacked up against him and his boys. Marvin Harrison Jr., incredibly rough start. The ball that turned into an interception, and the other one where it seemed like he stopped his route way short, causing another interception for Kyler. But what stands out is how he responded. Instead of disappearing, he came back, strong second half, capped it with a big touchdown where he mossed I think it was Weatherspoon a little bit. And that helps start the comeback. For a second-year wide receiver, it's growth in real time, right? He's learning how to shake off mistakes and still make an impact, and that's something you absolutely want to see from him moving forward. Trey McBride continues to be one of the steadiest weapons in the offense, right? He was reliable, got his touches, gave Kyler the safety blanket every quarterback really needs. And when the offense was sputtering early, McBride was still there to move the chains. Those are the kind of consistent performances that keep drives alive and open things up for guys like Harrison down the field. On the defensive side, Calais Campbell showed he still got gas in the tank. Don't call him old. That man's 39 years young. The veteran logged the sack and proven leadership in a tough game against a tough Seattle O-line. Even when the defense bent and didn't completely break, it was vets like Campbell keeping them in the fight, right? That kind of presence is invaluable, especially for a young team trying to figure out its identity. So yeah, a loss is a loss, sure. And the Cardinals have plenty of things to clean up, but the positives are there. Resiliency, late game execution from Kyler, growth from Harrison, and steady contribution from McBride, and leadership on the defense. If Arizona can stack those positives and iron out the mistakes, it's going to be in a position to win and turn those close losses into close wins. And that's something to hang your head on moving into Week 5. So now that we talked about what went right, man, what went wrong? What hurt? What hurt the most in this besides losing at home, especially other side of the coin? Plenty of things that went wrong. The biggest problem all night in my mind was consistency on offense. Outside of the fourth quarter, Cardinals moved slowly. They looked predictable, frankly, stalled. Right? First 9 drives netted like 138 yards, something like that. You can't really rely on a late rally every game. Games are often lost before you can even try to salvage them. Murray under siege the whole game. 6 sacks in one game is way too many. Isaiah Adams, I think it was our left guard, responsible for a lot of those pressures in one of those sacks. And when your quarterback can't step up in the pocket, you use flexibility, you use time, you use leverage. And if you watch other quarterbacks that never had O-lines, a lot of those times, just from the top of my head, Arizona Wildcats quarterback Khalil Tate back in the day, first year he played down in Tucson, was a Heisman candidate. Everyone talked about being a Heisman candidate and all this stuff. He was killing it, crazy stats and everything. That next year, something happened under Kevin Sumlin where that O-line was just awful, and you would see Tate snap the ball. He didn't even look downfield. He would start running immediately, looking for somewhere to run. And he wasn't 5'10" or 6 foot, whatever they list Kyler at. He was taller. So it's you got to keep in mind it'll mess with Kyler's head for sure. On top of that, we turned the ball over twice. Both interceptions, balls thrown to Marvin Harrison. One was a bobble catch, and the other one was a route timing. Again, I think Harrison stopped short, like quite a bit short. And that was like a direct pass to the defense, and that was terrible. So those turnovers not only kill momentum, man, they swing field position, they take pressure off the opponent's defense, and deep in the hole you have to dig out of. So that might be the most gutting mistake of the night, wasn't the interceptions. After tying the game, God, Chad Ryland, that kickoff, that failed to land in the NFL's required landing zone. That whatever. I don't even think they even know what the hell they're talking about anymore in their own rules. But it triggered a penalty that gave Seattle the ball at their own 40. The error basically handed them a short field, which Seattle drove into field goal range. They've been able to move the ball pretty well all night, and you can't make mistakes like that in tight games, especially in this situation specifically. So time and again, the Cardinals let the Seattle control the tempo, especially early. And the run game was stifled. Again, we're missing James Conner, probably our best offensive weapon now you think about it, even though he hasn't had impressive stats this year. But Trey Benson has a lot to learn quite clearly. Passing game was limited. Again, lack of run game. Passing game is going to be take a hit. They allowed the Seahawks to dictate the flow, forcing Arizona to play catch up. So you don't win games when your opponent gets comfortable early. In fact, you lose them very easily that way, and you're stuck chasing all night. So yeah, late fight back, flashes of brilliance. Those are encouraging, but the mistakes in protection, turnover, special teams, and early offense are the kind of errors that run or that turn potential wins into losses. So if the Cardinals want to stay in the division race, which you could argue they're still in it, they still want to be in it, you got to tighten the fundamentals. You got to clean up the protection. You got to stop the giveaways completely if possible. You got to execute cleanly in all three phases because the margin for error in the NFL is so razor thin. One move this way, one move that way, you don't quite get it. You don't get that first down. Just 1 inch to the one side, 1 inch to the other. I'm starting to sound like Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday. But either way, you guys know what I'm talking about. All right, so let's talk about my hot take for the week, and this one's kind of aimed at some of y'all. All right, so bear with me. Let's take a closer look at Marvin Harrison Jr.'s performance against the Seahawks in Week 4. Roller coaster is the best way to put it. It's a roller coaster night for the second-year wideout. Some clear mistakes that hurt the Cardinals early, but also flashes of resilience and star power that kept Arizona in the fight late. First, let's address what went wrong. Harrison had a couple of drops that really hurt. One bobbled ball turned into an interception, flipped momentum back to Seattle. Later, another miscue stalled a promising drive. And to that, that was tough. But add to that the fact that he struggled to consistently create separation against Seattle's physical corners like Tarek Woolen and Devin Witherspoon. And it was clear that he was feeling the grind of NFL level competition, right? He's still trying to catch, get that tempo, that speed and everything. You can't say nothing about it because we've seen other receivers do that went on to have great careers, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Those mistakes don't just kill drives. They put your quarterback in a tough spot and change the complexion of the game. For a player hyped as Harrison, those are growing pains you got to work through. But here's the good news. Harrison didn't disappear. He didn't hang his head or fade from the game plan. Instead, he responded, right? In the fourth quarter when the Cardinals were mounting the furious comeback, he stepped up and found the end zone. That touchdown was huge, huge. It was beautiful to see, not just the touchdown and the score and everything, but the way he did it. He showed that he literally plucked the ball out, right? And it was great to see because that's what you want to see from a guy you drafted fourth overall. So, not only for the scoreboard was that touchdown huge, but for showing the ability to rebound from adversity. That's the mark of a professional, and that's rare to see that level of mental toughness in a guy that young. So he proved he can make big plays when the lights are the brightest. So what do we take away from Marvin Harrison Jr.'s week? It was far from perfect. Drops and turnovers were costly, but at the same time, it showed us that he's got the resilience and confidence to fight back and make an impact, right, when his team needs it the most. So there are, the moments, these are the moments that shape young players. If Harrison learns from mistakes and builds on clutch plays, the Cardinals have a future superstar in the making. But, look, the flashes were there. Let's put it that way. The flashes were there, and the bounce back ability was real. Big positive moving forward. Bottom line, in my mind, when it comes to Marvin Harrison, RELAX, as Aaron Rodgers said it, relax. He's clearly had a confidence issue this season with lack of targets, which means less catches, less usage. Hell, even a thought of whether or not he fits in this offense at all. Like, what does Drew Petzing want him to do? What is he telling him in practice? What is he telling him in the film room? Obviously we're not privy to those conversations in those meetings, but it's still something to think about. What positions has he been put in, right, to be successful? Not many, right? Is part of it his fault? Sure, we can go there. Is part of it Kyler's fault? Absolutely. Is part of it the whole team has to be cohesive, right? Like, this is not like people. I was talking to some fans at the game on Thursday. Someone was saying like, well, Justin Jefferson went this and that, whatever, and the other. That was a different team. He went to a Vikings team that had some kind of continuity, kind of culture. We had no culture. JG's creating it on the fly. So keep that in mind. How many Hall of Famers, right, have gotten dragged their first 3 seasons of their career just to figure out, just to at some point, pretty soon figure it out and then go on to have incredibly successful careers? I get it. The thought of it, well, we drafted top of the first round. He should be producing right away. I get it to a certain degree. I agree, but that's not the reality that we're in. And if we're going to put that kind of pressure on and tag MHJ as a bust already, then we did a huge disservice of not allowing the young man to develop. The second half showed the flashes of why we drafted him in the first place, right? Give this young man the time he needs to develop into what he knows he can be. If he doesn't, fine. Leave him a bust if you want to, okay? But give him the time he needs to prove he can get it done. Look, I'll say this. Don't be coming back here with some "I knew it all along" BS when he does pan out, because he absolutely will. I'm calling it right now. Okay, you heard it here first. All right, but if you want to do us a favor, Larry Fitzgerald, if you'd like to come back, I don't know if you guys just saw it. I know we have Son's latest, I think it is. I forgot the gentleman's name. Good dude, great show, by the way. You guys can look that up. Part of the Fan Arc team. But Steve Nash just came back as a senior advisor to the Phoenix Suns, right? He was with practice and all kinds of stuff. Great to see a Suns legend in the building. Larry Fitz, come on, man. Call up Larry Fitz and be like, hey, look, we just, if you could do us a huge favor, come back, be a senior advisor. What do you want to do? Just working with the wideouts, specifically Marvin Harrison Jr. A lot of people are saying, oh, he's got his dad and all this stuff. I get it, totally valid. The thing is, I'm a parent, right? And you see your kids different than other people see your kids, okay? Like, I coach my kids' t-ball team now. Great, right? Easy. But if he gets competitive and turns into baseball, I'm not going to coach him, right? Because I'll see him as something different. I can manage other things and help him in other ways, okay? But we need somebody like Larry Fitzgerald, who doesn't have super personal ties to Marvin Harrison Jr., in my mind, to get in there and talk to him, work with him a little bit, but work on this more than this. Harrison's got this. He's got this. Work with this a little bit, right? Sports psychologist, whatever you got to do, all right? But got to get that going now. We don't want to do this in year 5, year 6 when he's on another team or on our team still and just constantly getting berated by fans and media analysts alike, in order to be the guy I know he can be, and I believe he will be. So don't take off those Harrison Jr. jerseys just yet, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Just believe in our boy. He's going to develop. He'll get there. We got to have patience. We don't have the luxury of a Jerry Jones with the Cowboys just trying to plug and play big names and stuff like that. We just saw him lose Michael Parsons, but we don't have the luxuries that other teams have, right? We got to work with what we got. So it's what it is, folks. That's going to do it for this episode of Cardinals Daily. I'm Eddie Law. Don't forget, hit that sub, hit that bell, hit that like, leave a comment. I'll see y'all tomorrow. We'll get to those comments for sure. I am on the road, but I am back in Phoenix tomorrow and tomorrow morning, so we'll make sure I get to those comments for you guys, all right? Have a wonderful, wonderful week. It's Saturday. Go give yourself some college football. Have a good one.